I'm Dr. Rachel Griffiths, and I'm with my father and partner in aquatics.
Dr. Tom Griffiths.
Welcome to the Drowning Files, where each week we share a lawsuit we've been involved in or another true story with suggestions to learn from these tragedies to save lives. What case do you have today?
I have a slip and fall case, and I believe a while back we reviewed another slip and fall case, but as I mentioned before, in the first half of my career, I looked at slip and falls as no big deals because people weren't being permanently or seriously injured, but I've learned the hard way through new cases that I've received over the years that slip and falls in a swimming pool environment, locker room environment, can be extremely painful and costly to the person slipping and falling. And so in reviewing our cases, I found this one that happened in a popular U.S. city, a resort type of city in the South. And this husband and wife stayed at a very nice resort with a very nice indoor swimming pool with 2 hot tubs on the pool deck. And when you left the locker room and got out to the pool deck, in front of you, you had 2 big hot water spas. And then just beyond that, you had a large, very well-maintained rectangular pool surrounded by glass, big glass floor-to-ceiling windows, which were very nice and appealing. And this was what we call a swim at your own risk, no lifeguard on duty pool. And the thing that was different about this pool is that it had a trench drain, which, Rachel, you and I like because it takes the water off the floor pretty effectively. It had a trench drain, which, for people who are listening don't understand what that is rather than have individual either square or round drains placed intermittently around the pool on the pool deck, a trench drain runs continuously around the pool. It's like a border, and typically about 5 feet to 10 feet in from the swimming pool edge. So this pool had a trench drain, and that wasn't the unusual part. The unusual part was that this trench drain was covered with dry deck material. That is not the trench drain. From the trench drain in towards the pool had this dry deck, no slip tiles that were plastic that were added to the existing pool deck so that slips and falls would not occur. And this is often used in locker rooms and shower stalls. And I'm using a brand name, Dry Deck, because they're not faulty in this case at all. They work very, very well. They're large tiles which are perforated and have holes in them so that when you walk with them on them with bare feet, your skin goes into those holes a little bit. It doesn't hurt, but it allows your feet to grab that tile, so they're completely non-slip. So that's the advantage of these dry deck tiles that snap together. The disadvantage of these tiles is that it takes a lot of work to keep them clean. You got to power wash them. Sometimes you have to pull them up and get the mold and algae out of there, but they work very well. So in this particular case, the older gentleman, got out of the pool, went to his lounge chair that he and his wife set up, lounge chairs, on the far side of the deck, about 20 to 25 feet away from the pool deck. He walked across the dry deck successfully, but once he crossed that trench drain and got onto the original swimming pool tiles, he immediately slipped, fell, broke his ankle, required knee surgery, and hurt his hip. A real bad fall. And what happens in a lot of these pretty hotels and these fancy resorts is, in order to dress up the swimming pool environment, they use very large tiles. And large tiles, I don't care what they say about the coefficient of friction, which predicts how slippery they will be. If they're large tiles, they allow the foot to hydroplane and people slip. So this guy, when he left the dry deck area with the non-slip plastic tiles laid on top of the pool deck, when he left that area, he immediately slipped and fell. And this lawsuit was substantial. It was significant because this gentleman was not allowed to work. He was in the hospital for surgeries, in a lot of pain. And the reason why the settlement was rather high is because they knew that this pool deck was slippery if the large tiles were left untreated or not addressed. And they addressed the slipperiness of the large ceramic tiles inside the trench drain, but going beyond the trench drain, they provided no treatment. So in a lawsuit here in the States, they call it foreseeability. The owners and operators of this pool had the foreseeability. They knew that these tiles were slippery. And while they did protect some areas of the pool from slips and falls, they didn't protect all of the areas. And so the result was a very large settlement. And as I mentioned, I think before, that some of these slips and falls, the amount of money that the individual gets sometimes surpasses what someone will get for a drowning. And the reason for that is oftentimes their line of work is affected. They can't work anymore. The pain and suffering and those injuries linger on. So anyway, that's the case I have for you today.
And what would be strategies for parents, caregivers, or other people going to the pool to help avoid slips and falls?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't mention that at all, is whenever you're in a wet environment, whether it be a locker room or a swimming pool, or if it's around a sauna even, or hot water spa, it is to bend your knees, and I say go low and slow. Stay low like an athletic posture when you're walking, and go slow, holding the hands of either your partner or children, and look at the tile or look at the surface. And if you have very small tiles, 1 by 1 inch or 2 by 2 inch, chances are those tiles are not going to be slippery, because the grout joints between the tiles actually provide the non-slippage material. So if you have very small tiles, they're not likely to be slippery. The larger the tile, the more likely they are to be slippery in general. And then if it's a concrete deck, we usually broom that with a stiff broom so that you see streaks or grooves in the concrete, and that will be non-slip. But whenever you have a smooth deck surface, locker room surface, or if water puddles, stay away from the puddling, stay away from the damming of the water that can't escape to the drain. And these areas will definitely be slippery, not only because your feet hydroplane on that water, because those little puddles or little ponds on the pool deck collect algae and mold, so it makes it even more slippery. So go low and slow, hold hands if you can. People who are older and have some disabilities should probably use a walker. But look at the surface, and if you don't see grooves and channels and streaks in the concrete or the tile, and you don't feel those, it probably will be slippery.
And I would say also to feel it with your foot slowly first, because even a lot of surfaces I've been to that look like they might be non-slip and also are designed to be non-slip can be slippery. So brushed concrete, sometimes they do things to make it non-slippery. So you might assume that it is non-slippery, but can still be slippery. Also, wearing shoes can help, or making sure your shoes have treads, pool deck shoes, or if you know that your shoes don't, taking care to see if it's better to wear shoes or put your child in shoes or go barefoot.
Yeah, you bring up another great point. Other experts will bring in this sled, which gives you a number, the coefficient of friction, and it predicts whether or not that surface is going to be slippery or not. Well, that doesn't work in a wet environment. So we use the barefoot method. We both do the same thing individually on our own. We take a bucket of water, throw it on the pool deck, and try to slip carefully. We try to slip where we threw that water. And if we don't slip, it's non-slip. If we do slip, it's not.